Välkomna tillbaka till dagens allra sista programpunkt och dagens allra sista material. Rostfritt stål. Jag läser mina 3 punkter. Det rostfria stålet finns med ytor som är blanka, matta, borstade, slipade och dekorvalsade. Kan i vissa fall även målas och lackeras. De rostfria stålen är mycket formbara och kan bockas och bearbetas även vid låg temperatur. Känd byggnad med materialet Chrysler Building på Manhattan. Som stod klar 1930 och som har tvättats 2 gånger sedan dess. Och jag vet inte om ni har varit på Manhattan nyligen, men den ser faktiskt fortfarande ut som ny. Om ni har varit på Manhattan nyligen så kan det hända att ni har varit nere vid Ground Zero och sett The Memorial Museum som håller på att byggas där nu. En annan byggnad i rostfritt stål som vi ska få stifta bekantskap med nu, plus många andra rätt hisnande projekt, är King Abdul Aziz Center for World Culture i Saudiarabien. Och jag tror inte jag behöver presentera Snöhetta, va? Nej. Robert Greenwood. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Robert Greenwood, actually I'm Mr. Snöhetta. I usually say that going around the world. Some places they even believe me. The point is, having a name like Snöhetta works very well for architects. You know, most architects when they come out of school, they start up their company, they call their architectural practice after their own name. Really stupid, bad idea. Don't do it. Architecture is not about one person, it's about lots of people, it's a collective activity. So our name, Snöhetta, is a mountain, as you well know, I'm sure. We go there every year, by the way, as a sort of pilgrimage. Mountains stay, they're rooted into our culture, and they rise up to our hopes and aspirations. People come, they go, they grow old, they get bored, they disappear. So calling a company after a mountain, much better idea. We have 2 offices at the moment, almost 3, but we have 2 right now. One in Oslo, one in New York. As you can see from the picture, New York and Oslo are really very similar. They're almost the same. On Google Earth, very, very similar. Actually, there is one similarity. I think they're both on the edge of the ocean or fjord and looking out. Maybe that's a good place for us to be, because most of our work is on the edge and looking out. This is just a little picture from our office. Every Monday we have our office meeting. This is our Monday office meeting where we talk about what we're going to do next week. We're a lot of different nationalities, 15 at the moment. We do have Swedes working for us, which we're very happy about. Even some Norwegians. You know, we're a big mix. We have a word we call transpositioning, where architects, landscape architects, interior designers, graphic designers, even artists, we expect people to mix and change roles and change jobs. So because I'm an architect, does not stop me from having really strong opinions about plants and flowers. And I expect the landscape architects to have very strong ideas about curtains and ceilings and walls. Everyone has the same voice. Everyone is supposed to contribute, not break down into different groups or different departments, landscapers, designers, architects. This is not how we're organized. We're not organized in groups. We're not organized in pyramids. We don't have the blue team, the red team, and the yellow team. This is how our office really is organized. It's a mental map that I made of our office. Each point is an architect. Each color is a project, and of course they're all linked into each other. We all sit mixed up. So that if I'm working on the blue project, I'm probably sitting next to someone working on the yellow project or the green project, and we learn from each other by just listening, hearing, and seeing. This is how our office works. It's a bit dark, sorry, but there are 4 important places. The big tables where we have our meetings and our lunch. Lunch is very important at our office. If anyone ever comes to Oslo, please drop in. Drop in around lunchtime. We have a cook, she's called Wenche Beata, and she makes lunch for 70 people every day and smiles every day. I can't imagine how she manages it. But eating together is important. Otherwise, people would go to the nearest cafe or have their little lunch boxes or whatever. Architecture is a social activity. You need to meet, need to talk. Then there's the Monday meetings. The coffee machine is quite obviously where most people are, and we can all do that because in the back room we have this robot. He's called Mr. Kuka, and he works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. He never stops, which means that we can spend our time having meetings, eating lunch, and drinking coffee. We started just over 20 years ago in this city. It's Alexandria. It really is, if anyone hasn't been there, you should go there. It is, I think, the pearl of the Mediterranean. It certainly used to be the cultural hub of the Mediterranean. It was where the Greeks lived, the French lived, the Italians lived, the Arabs and the Jews all on top of each other, a very big multicultural mix. 20 years ago, 25 years ago now, actually there was an architectural competition for the library, and we were lucky enough to win it. At that point, none of us had built anything, just out of school, long hair, looked like hippies, had holes in our jeans. We took part in the competition and won it. It's a great way to start an office with a huge building. It's much more difficult, I think, to start by doing small buildings and building up. We've sort of started with the big building, which means we can sort of move down. I don't know who got the biggest shock, whether it was the people in Alexandria or ourselves when we turned up and found out that we won, but when they saw us arising towards the podium, I don't know if they quite understood what they were buying into. But they stuck with it. It took a long, long time. It took 13 years. It's the little round building on the top there. It's quite a big building. Architecture is such a long process. 13 years, I mean, we had long hair. A lot of people lost their hair. It certainly went grey before it was finished. And you need some very strong, I think, concepts to keep you going through that period. People can buy into and just keep the whole process going. Ours was very simple for the library. Past, present and future. The library should link, obviously, the past, the roots of your culture, the aspirations and hopes of the new generation. The building does just that. That's the section of the building that links down underground, up into the sky. And since we're here at PLÅT, I can show you this beautiful roof. It's made of aluminium. I'm afraid not just stainless steel. But it's the roof of the library. It's 5,000 square meters of aluminium panels. At that time, we think we were quite advanced. The whole roof is a honeycomb aluminium construction. So the panels are two pieces of aluminium with an aluminium honeycomb in between to make it extremely flat, extremely smooth. I think you can see that in the pictures. Quite advanced at that point. We didn't have much computer modeling. It was quite a while ago now. We had to draw a lot of it by hand. A lot of it was made by hand. The engineering was done together with us and Gartner at that point in time, but the building, the contract actually went to GIG from Austria, who put this together. The roof lights are on the diagonal. They point directly to the north, so that we don't get the sunlight into the library, but we get the daylight into the library. And more importantly, when you're in the library reading your books, you can sit and look out to the Mediterranean. On the back side, or the African side, it's a different technology. It's the technology that Alexander himself might have used, stone by stone, put on top of each other. Not something I should show here, I suppose, no metal, only stone. But it's composition, it's an artistic composition of all the writings, the letters of the history of mankind. So you'll find Arabic, you'll find Roman, you'll find Egyptian. And across the history of mankind, all put together and carved into this stone wall. Many thousand square meters of stone carving. All done by hand by this group of fantastic Egyptian stone carvers. You know, we had to take them to Norway to work in the quarries to learn how to carve by hand. They actually bought a big computer carving machine, but that didn't work, so they had to do it by hand. Really quite a wonderful piece of art. This is back in the 90s and the 80s. You're not supposed to read any messages in the wall. There are no statements. So a very non-political wall, this one. I think if we did it now, we'd probably have some statements there. But anyway, at night, the light comes out of the library, and then on the inside, well, it's really like going out when you go in. It's like going out into the forest when you go into the library itself. The room is really very high at the back, 30 meters. Very low at the front, you can almost touch it. And the columns are really like the tree trunks. and the roof, like the roof canopy itself, with the light coming through the leaves and filtering down. It is a landscape. It's not really a building, it's a landscape. So when you're on the top, you look down, it's like looking down a mountainside. 7 different layers, each layer with its own theme in the library. And sits in the skyline of Alexandria, really quite simply. It's a monument, it's definitely iconic, but it doesn't stand up, it doesn't shout, it actually fits into the skyline of Alexandria as we know it. Well, I'm going to show you some small projects. You might think at the end of my talk that we only build very large and very strange buildings, but we do quite a lot of small buildings too. We started off as much as landscape as architects. So some of our small projects and some of our bigger projects are actually just landscape projects. This is one of our smallest landscapes. It's a backyard in Oslo, and it's a drinking fountain for the old lady's cats. We do hotels, small ones. If you want to book a room, that's the hotel, and this is the room. There is only one room, so you better be fast out. It's great to work with buildings that don't stand around for too long. You know, architecture takes such a long time to design it. We all get so very old. It's not like an author who can write a book in a week or maybe a month, or a painter who can do a painting in the course of a few hours. Architecture, as you know, takes such a long time. So to be able to do some buildings that are done quickly is good for our office. And some buildings that don't stand there for too long. This is a summer pavilion put up for 1 year in London, Hyde Park Serpentine Pavilion. Just a big tent where events can take place during the summer. Poetry readings with Linton Kwesi Johnson. Or a pavilion for the Kongsberg Jazz Festival. It just gets put up 1 week every year and taken down again.